Danielle, and today I'm going to be doing a bookshelf tour. So I asked you guys on Instagram what you'd like to see from me, and you guys responded heavily with a bookshelf tour. So what I'm going to be doing is going through my bookshelf that you can see here behind me, and I'm going to be telling you guys if I've read it, if I haven't read it, why I bought it maybe, things like that. So let's just get started. So the inspiration for today's video came from Carrie Hope Fletcher. I've been a long time viewer and fan of hers, and she's been doing like live streams on her Instagram of her books because she just moved, and I thought that this would be really fun because I've got a lot of books. I don't have all of my books in my apartment. A lot of my books are still at my parents' house, but I brought like my favorites or ones that I really wanted to read. I'm gonna start with the top shelf and work my way down. So this is my top bookshelf here. I keep a lot of my, as you can see, I keep manga up here. So I've got, this here is Vampire Knight. It is the very first manga series I ever read and anime I ever watched, and so I've got these all displayed here. I also collect Funko Pops, so you're going to see them scattered throughout my shelf. This here is Vampire Knight. This is one of my all-time favorite manga series that I've ever read. It's the first, so it's really special to me. I've got every volume. I've also got a art book here, and this is Fleeting Dreams. It's like a short story kind of setup. And then I have Full Metal Alchemist volumes 1 and 3. I got these at a thrift store. I'm a huge thrift shopper. I love buying books that I find at thrift stores. This is Tokyo Ghoul, another one of manga series that I really like, and an anime. I've read the entire series, but I only have the first 3 copies. Moving on, I've got Attack on Titan. I've got the first 2, and then No Regrets, which is about a character named Levi. Something I found about manga that I didn't realize that I was going to run into was how many volumes there are. Not every series is like Vampire Knight, where the author knew that she was only going to have less than 20 volumes, so, and it ends with 19. So here we are. Next we've got, I'm going to move Lucy over just a smidge. I've got the first 3 volumes of Fairy Tail, which is one of my all-time favorite animes. Again, if you like my Instagram, I've made a few posts about Lucy this last week. I don't know, I've been feeling like I need some Lucy love in my life here lately. So there is Fairy Tail, and then I'm gonna turn this so we can see everything over here. I've got a Kingdom Hearts 2 manga. I picked it up at a thrift store. It just kind of seemed like it needed to be loved, and I like Kingdom Hearts, so I got that. Alright, next is kind of like my YouTuber slash coffee table books that I've got. So up here is a book that I got from my great-grandmother as a graduation present, I believe. It was my great-grandmother or my grandmother on my dad's side. I don't remember. I didn't write it down. I'm a terrible person. This has like inspirational quotes and things like that to motivate you, and tips for like getting a job and things like that. So actually this is, I really like quotes, so this is one of my more favorite books that I have on this top shelf here. Then we've got I Hate My Selfie by Shane Dawson and It Gets Worse by Shane Dawson. If you don't watch Shane Dawson, I do recommend reading his 2 books because they're short essays about his personal life. I'm actually going to take this one off the shelf. I'm breathing very heavily. I'm like Darth Vader here. So this is All I Know Now by Carrie Hope Fletcher. This is a I don't want to call it a self-help guide, but that's essentially what it is. It's about being like it's about being a girl and navigating life. I think it's perfect for young teens and things like that, especially if you're going through puberty or just young adulthood. It's awesome. I really like it. Next is Binge by Tyler Oakley. I haven't read all of that. I got his audiobook as well. I've read half of it. It's hilarious. It's definitely emotional, and I absolutely adore listening to the audiobook because he reads it himself, which is really great. Here, these are from conventions. These are signed by different anime actors and things like that. I've got Sheldon And then we've got Ron Chernow's biography of Alexander Hamilton. I am a huge Hamilton fan, and I wanted to know more about him and where Lin-Manuel Miranda got his inspiration from the musical. I've actually read a portion of it. There's a bookmark here as I'm accidentally flipping you guys off. I also have the audiobook for it as well. It's a huge read. I'd like to keep reading it, but it's a commitment. And then here on the end, these are by Dan and Phil. This is The Amazing Book Is Not on Fire, and then Dan and Phil Go Outside. These were based on their tour that they did the time before. I have not seen their Introverted tour. I'm totally flubbing on how they pronounce that. But these guys are great. I saw them on their first tour. Essentially, these are coffee table books. They're just kind of, you flip through, you can read some stuff. So yeah, I've essentially read pretty much everything on this top shelf except for Binge and the Alexander Hamilton biography. Moving on to my second shelf, this is where I start to get some more actual novels. Tea break. This is obviously, it's The Hobbit. This is I feel like a fake nerd some days, but I've only ever read The Hobbit, even though I own The Unfinished Tales, and I own, The Fellowship and the Two Towers. I own all of the books, but I've only ever read The Hobbit. And it's not that I don't want to read all of these books, it's just I find Tolkien's writing to be difficult to get through. But yeah, I've only ever read The Hobbit, but I do own I do own the trilogy, I own the Silmarillion, I own A Look Behind the Lord of the Rings, which is like a biography about Tolkien. So I own quite a few Lord of the Rings books. I just have only ever read The Hobbit. I'd like to read them at some point in my life. I just have never actually gotten past A Shortcut to Mushrooms, which is like the third or fourth chapter within the Fellowship of the Ring. So yes, I'm admitting that I've never actually read them, but I do own them. So the intention is there. I just haven't actually read the books. So I feel like a sham. Just had a coughing fit, now my eye's watering. Alright, next is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. So this was a book that a lot of people were trying to get me to read and then my friend Danielle and I, she picked up a copy and then she read it and I read it, and my mom listened to the audiobook, and we fell in love with this. This book is amazing. I'll read the back blurb to you guys because I like this book so much. The circus arrives without warning. No announcements precede it. It's simply there, when yesterday it was not. Within the black and white striped canvas tents, it is utterly unique. It is an utterly unique experience full of breathtaking amazements. It is called Le Cirque de Rêves, and it is only open at night. Behind the scenes, a fierce competition is underway. A duel between two young magicians, Celia and Marco, who have been trained since childhood expressly for this purpose by their mercurial instructors. Unbeknownst to both of them, this is a game in which only one can be left standing. Amidst the high stakes, Celia and Marco soon tumble headfirst into love, setting off a domino effect of dangerous consequences and leaving the lives of everyone there, from their performers to their patrons, hanging in the balance. So this is a great book. I cannot stress this enough. So if you've never read this, it's great. The audiobook is read by Jim Dale, who read the Harry Potter books originally. I know Stephen Fry also read the Harry Potter books, but Jim Dale does an amazing job reading this book. So if you haven't, check this out. Next is, so this is actually a trilogy. So I've actually talked about Me Before You on my channel before. I'm not going to read the back blurb for this, but I really liked this book. The movie was great. And then she wrote 2 more books about Louisa Clark. So then we've got After You, which is obviously after Me Before You, and then we've got Still Me. This one actually takes place in New York, where the other ones take place in England. So these are great if you want a good realistic fiction and a good feel time. These are great. And I don't typically like realistic fiction. I am a very big into fantasy, and so the fact that I read something like this really blew my mind, because I don't typically read, most of the stuff I read is fantasy. So these are awesome. I love these. Check them out if you haven't read them. Okay, moving on to the pile that I just removed from the second shelf. I've got The Emperor of the Eight Islands that I still have a bookmark in, that I've read most of. This was a book that I picked up at a bookshop, and I kept picking it up because I thought the cover looked really cool, and when I read the back, it was just kind of like, oh, this is really interesting. And this is a series. I'm really bad at like picking out a book there's like 10 of. So this takes place in Japan, and it's like Imperial Japan, is that a thing? I don't know. It takes place in Japan, and there are like samurai and all this other stuff, and it's a really cool story. It's by Leon Hearn, and it's great. So yeah, this is another book that I've read most of. I just never finished it. I don't know why. Oh, it still has the price tag on it. This is The World of Pooh. It's by A.A. Milne. I have actually read all of these as a child. Winnie the Pooh is one of my favorite Disney characters. I bought this off of a friend of mine who's getting rid of books. So yeah, it was just really nice to actually have a copy of these myself, because my mom has all of these, and I didn't have one personally. So yeah. Okay, next I'll go for this since this is closest to my thigh here. This is the Fallen series by Lauren Kate. This is essentially, it's a young adult love story with a bunch of teenagers. It's about fallen angels. I originally picked this up at a thrift store just because I thought it looked cool, and I really, really liked it. So if you like love stories, if you like fallen angel stuff, this series is pretty entertaining. I have Fallen, which is the first novel, Torment, which is the second one, Passion, which is the third one. I don't have the fourth one in the series, but I do have the Fallen in Love, this is kind of like a wrap-up of all of the couples and stuff in the series. I just haven't read this because I haven't finished the series because I don't own the book. But again, if you like fallen angels and like love triangles and stuff, this series is great. Next is Evermore, and this is by Alison Noel. This was recommended to me by my big sister, and I read this in high school in 10th grade, and this is about like these are also about reincarnation. So funny enough, so this is about reincarnation and falling in love and like forbidden love, and this is also a series. I have Evermore, which is the first book in the series, Shadowland, which I think is the third book, and Everlasting, but doesn't have the dust jacket anymore, which is the last book in the series. So again, if you like teen love stories about reincarnation and like chakras and energy, this is a fun series to read. And then Vampire Diaries by L.J. Smith. I have the first 4 books because they're shoved together. I do have another book. I have read both of these, but it has been such a long time that I don't remember anything about these, other than the fact that Elena's blonde in the book series, and she's not in the TV show. I watched the TV show. The TV show is awesome. The books are also good. They're just different. So the first book is The Awakening and the Struggle, and then the next one is Fury and Dark Reunion. So yeah, I have lots of teen love books on my second shelf so far. So yeah, there's that. Okay, so I apologize. This didn't get recorded. After all of my teen love stories here, I do have The Fault in Our Stars by John Green, Looking for Alaska, and Paper Towns, all by John Green. I've read Fault in Our Stars. I have not read these two fully. I couldn't get into them as much as this one. And then we've got the Inheritance Cycle here. So we've got by Christopher Paolini. So there's Aragon, Eldest, Birthsinger, and Inheritance. I have read these 3 books. I have never finished the series. It just was at a time in my life where I read the 4th book or started reading it, and I couldn't remember what happened in the other books, and so I never finished the series. So that is what is left on shelf number 2. Okay, moving on to my third bookshelf, or my third shelf on my bookshelf. I apologize if the lighting is starting to get weird. I don't have a lighting kit yet, and I'm trying to work with the sunlight in my office. So I've got several Doctor Who books on this shelf. So this is The Science and Secrets of Doctor Who. This is by Simon Guerrera and Dr. Marek Kukula. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I've never read this. This was a gift from my Uncle Dave. I've gotten several Doctor Who books from him in the past, but this is one I have not actually read yet. So I do like these books. They're very entertaining, and it's just nice to give some insight to Doctor Who. I do like Doctor Who. I'm just behind on the series. Haven't watched it in a couple years. But this, I'm sure, will be a fun book to read eventually. Next we've got my Doctor Who magazine. This is an On Location one. This is a special edition magazine. It's got really fun stuff inside. I've read some of this, but because it's a special edition one, I keep this on my bookshelf. I don't leave this on like a coffee table or something, but it is really neat, and like I said, I have perused it a bit. Next I have The Shroud of Sorrow by Tommy E. Donbrevand. This is a Doctor Who story. This features Matt Smith and Clara, so the 11th Doctor? I had a brain fart there. The 11th Doctor. This was really fun and different to read. I picked this up in a bookshop just because I was like, oh, look, Doctor Who books. I've never read one. This looks cool. This was really actually a fun one to read. This takes place right after the Kennedy assassination, and they're trying to figure out, like, what happens and stuff. So it's a fun one, but I have read this, but I had never read like a Doctor Who book before. This is Doctor Who Unfolding the Text by John Taloch and Manuel Alvarado. This is from my big sister. She found this somewhere and she thought of me, and I've perused this, but I actually haven't read this. It's pretty much in the same vein as The Science of Doctor Who. This is just an older copy, as this looks like the 70s and 80s Doctor Who font and TARDIS. But yeah, so I've got not lots of these, I've got 3 of actual science behind Doctor Who, so this is one of those. And then the last one is Whoology, Doctor Who, the official miscellany. This is by Kevin Scott and Mark Wright. I have read parts of this. So this actually goes over lore and episodes and gives you a timeline of different characters, like River Song. She's got a really bizarre timeline. It goes on Doctor's appearances, how long they were, the names of the episodes, their first and last episodes they were in. So this is good, if someone's getting into Doctor Who and they're confused, this is a good guide. And I do recommend this if you do like Doctor Who. I'm sure they have an updated version since because this was during Matt Smith's era. We've had Peter Capaldi and now we've got the 13th Doctor, so I'm sure it's a little outdated in terms of it's not outdated, but it is. But yeah, this is a fun one. It's a good one for any Whovian out there. So this is Crescendo. I don't know where. I think it might be in my car. So this is the second book in the Hush Hush saga. This is a story about a girl who ends up falling in love with a fallen angel named Patch. I can't think of her name right now. And it's kind of about their like weird forbidden love kind of thing. And this is by Rebecca Fitzpatrick. I was introduced to this by a friend of mine from high school. I really liked this series. I only have the first 2 books, and it's a series of 4. It's Hush Hush, Crescendo, Silence, and then Finale. Really fun series. I tend to like fallen angel stuff and like vampires. Speaking of vampires, this is the first 3 books in the Vampire Academy series by Rochelle Mead. The books are way better than the cruddy movie that came out. This is about a girl named Rose. Okay, so this is Vampire Academy. So it's after 2 years of freedom, Rose and Lisa are caught and dragged back to St. Vladimir's Academy, a school for vampire royalty and their guardians-to-be, hidden in the deep forest of Montana. But inside the Iron Gates, life is even more fraught with danger, and the Strigoi are always close by. Rose and Lisa must navigate their dangerous world, confront temptations of forbidden love, and never once let their guard down lest the evil undead make Lisa one of them forever. So this is really cool. It's about, so yeah, her name's Rose. She's basically a badass protector of her best friend, her name's Lisa or Lisa. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's Lissa, which it's Lisa with an extra S, or Lissa. And her best friend's a princess, and they've got this really cool bond. And there's this hot Russian guy named Dmitri. And it's a really good book series, but like the Evermore series, this was recommended, or I recommended this to my sister, my big sister and I read this and it was really cool. So I've got Vampire Academy, which is the first one, Shadow Kissed, or Frostbite then Shadow Kissed. I think I just screwed up order. This is the first 3 anyway, and then I have The Last Sacrifice, which is the last book. It's a series of 6 books. I don't have the 2, 5, and I don't have 4 and 5. Great series if you like vampires. I felt like this was a good predecessor to Twilight, just because it's got different themes than the Twilight series. But Vampire Academy was awesome. I really liked it. Yes, good times. Alright, so rounding out what's left on this shelf, I'm going to leave them on because they're all pretty big. I've got the first 3 Game of Thrones books, so I have A Song of Ice and Fire, Clash of Kings, and then A Sword of Storms. So technically, A Song of Ice and Fire is not mine. I believe it's my Uncle Jamie's. So Jamie, if you want your book back, just let me know. I took it from Nana, so blame her. Sorry. I have only read a few chapters in the Game of Thrones books. I have watched the TV show. I actually have a little Sansa pop on top of my books there. Just haven't gotten to them. So I do like the TV show. I do know the books are vastly different, but I have them, haven't read them. Then I've got the Hunger Games trilogy, so Hunger Games, Catching Fire, and then the Mockingjay books. I have read all 3 of them. I do like them. Catching Fire is my favorite. I hated the ending of Mockingjay, but if you've never read them, I highly recommend them. The movies are pretty good. They're pretty much verbatim. They tweaked a couple things for, timing reasons, things like that. Then I've got the Divergent series, which is Divergent, Insurgents, and Allegiance, and then 4, which is about the character 4. It's kind of like an in-between. As I itch my eye because I have makeup on it. Good job, me. Which is like a story about 4 before Triss. Things like that. So I do like the Divergent series. The movies are not the first movie I really liked, the other two are not as good, so I recommend reading the books over the movies. And then I've got a tribute guide for the Hunger Games. And then I'm actually gonna grab this one because this one's kind of funny. This is the Legion of Regrettable Supervillains. This features featuring the 50 strangest supervillains in the history of comics. This is the Loot Crate edition because I get Loot Crate. So it's got just supervillains and really strange names. So there's a lot of Batman villains in here because Batman's got a lot of weird villains. This is a cute coffee table book. It is fun. I've perused it. I haven't like sat down and read the whole thing, but this is a fun book to have. So yeah, that is shelf number 3. I'm just going to grab these two because these ones are loose. This is on my bottom shelf here. So this is Queen of Camelot. This is one of my favorite books. This is in like my top, I would say, 5 books. This is a Arthurian book about Guinevere, and it's technically 2 books smushed together. And this is the Child Queen and the High Queen, but it's all in one book. And this is by Nancy Mackenzie. I've never seen another book by this author. I picked this up thrift shopping because I saw Queen of Camelot and I was like, oh my god, have to have, because I was super obsessed with the BBC sci-fi show at the time, Merlin, which was my absolute favorite. I still haven't brought myself to watch like the last few episodes of that show because I know it happens and I'm a sad human. But this is really fun. It's all from Guinevere's perspective, and it follows her from the time she's a child all the way up until she, ends up in like the nunnery. I apologize, my neighbor's dog likes to bark a lot, and he started barking and then he shut up. So he might, I apologize if that happens. But yeah, this is one of my all-time favorites. Yep, as he starts barking. And I'm really bummed that I don't have it here. I don't know where it is at this current moment in time. My absolute favorite book of all time is The Little White Horse. And the author's name just went poof out of my head. But that is my favorite book of all time. So if people are like, oh, what's your favorite book? A lot of people assume it's Harry Potter. It is, but it's not. That's my favorite series. My favorite book of all time is The Little White Horse. It's absolutely magical, and they did make a movie of it. It is on Netflix. It's called The Secrets of Moonacre, if anybody wants to see it. That gives like a good overview, but it's nowhere near as good as the actual book itself. I picked this up at a library sale. This is part of the Warrior series. This is Tall Star's Revenge. This is by Aaron Hunter, which is a collection of authors. I didn't realize that these were actual like independent stories themselves. I have not read this, but the Warrior series was one of my favorite book series growing up. Again, don't have this series here. This is at my parents' house, but it's about cats who have clans and they all fight together, and it's super cool. This was just something I didn't own, so I picked it up, and I'll probably read it at some point just because the nostalgia is real, and I really liked reading these books growing up. So unfortunately, my camera, the battery died when I was filming the beginning of the last shelf. So we're gonna finish this up on my phone, so I apologize for that, but let's just jump into it. So this is my last shelf here. This book right here is The Coldest Girl in Cold Town. This is by Holly Black, and this is essentially, it's about vampires. This was something my sister gave me. She really liked it. I haven't had a chance to read it yet. It's one of those I'll probably really enjoy it, just haven't had an opportunity yet. This, obviously, is the Mortal Instruments series. This is by Cassandra Clare. Is that her name? Yes. So this is one of my boyfriend's favorite series. I haven't read the whole thing. I've read up to here. I've read up to City of Lost Souls. I've read the first couple chapters. and I got bored of it. I don't know if it's just because I binged the books or what, but I did like the movie. I wasn't a fan of the TV show. I've been told I should try it again, so who knows, we'll see that in the future. And then these are my Dan Brown books. So I've got the Da Vinci Code, Inferno, The Lost Symbol, and I've got the pocket edition of Angels and Demons here tucked in the corner. So I actually read these two books in like 6th grade, and I actually got in trouble for reading college level books, and I had to get special permission from my parents to read them. But I have read these two fully. I've read part of The Lost Symbol, and I haven't read Inferno. But I do really enjoy Dan Brown's books. I really like Robert Langdon as a character. Super great. So yeah, these are awesome. If you've never read a Dan Brown book, I highly recommend it. Especially because just his Robert Langdon books are awesome. So this is The Casual Vacancy by J.K. Rowling. I have never read this. I have heard like love-hate from this from different family and friends. So I own it, but I've never read it. So it just kind of just chills on my shelf right there. And then, we don't talk about those books. We're not even gonna. So then these are my Twilight books. I have the graphic novels for Twilight. I have both volumes. I have Catherine Hardwicke's director's guide to the movies. I'll move that out of the way. I've got the whole series, so I've got Twilight, New Moon, Eclipse. I have the short Second Life of Bree Tanner, Breaking Dawn, and then I have the illustrated official guide, and then I have the official guide to Twilight, the Twilight Saga, Breaking Dawn from the movie here on the end. I really like the Twilight books, so you can hate me if you want, but I really do enjoy them. So that's what's there on the bottom shelf. A cute little baby picture of me and my Peter Rabbit frame. And then I've got some stuff under here, just because this is stuff that I don't have room for. This is my Shel Silverstein. Got the Giving Tree. This was a gift from, my Uncle Dave. And then I've actually picked these up through the years at thrift stores. So I have A Light in the Attic, Where the Sidewalk Ends, and Falling Up. I think I'm missing one of his poetry collections. So those are super fun. I really like those. Darth Vader breathing again. And then I've got a mini cookbook about soups. I haven't used this yet. I should probably put this in my kitchen. Then I've got, this is a music journal. I've never written this. This is the players, the guitar player's songwriting Bible. This was a gift from my mom, I think. And then this is the unofficial Harry Potter cookbook. I've actually have made some things from this, and this was a graduation present from my Uncle Arlie and my Aunt Donna. This is pretty awesome if you're a Harry Potter fan. I do recommend purchasing this. This is a good thing to have in your arsenal. I have Harry Potter themed books. Oh, and I have one last book. This is Old Inns of England. I bought this at, oh, it's upside down. I bought this at a secondhand store when I was on vacation. And it's just, the money went to charity, so I picked up a book and donated some money. So that's that. So that is my bookshelf. And that is my bookshelf tour. I hope you guys enjoyed my bookshelf tour. And if anybody's wondering, my Harry Potter books are on a completely different shelf. And I will do like a Harry Potter collection tour different time. But I hope you guys enjoyed my bookshelf tour. I hope you guys got some new recommendations for some books. This video is probably gonna be super duper long. Again, I hope you guys will watch it. I hope you enjoy it. I know it's been a while, so this is gonna be a little rough for me. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys later. Bye!